Hello and welcome to an Age of Empires 2 tier list by me, the Tactical Tea Time. Today we are going to be talking about civilizations that I think are good in Age of Empires 2, using the only metric I know how, forward castles. Let's get into it. Okay, first up, we're going to talk about Armenians. So, taking a peek over here at the AOE 2 wiki, we will see that Armenians do have mule carts, which are cheaper and also more effective techs, which means that their economy is better. They also have access to fortified churches, which are kind of like tiny castles that you can drop on your enemy. And because relics can join the war, making you able to weaponize God, I think we're going to have to put Armenians straight into the A tier. Next up, we're going to talk about the Aztecs. So, the Aztecs, really their only bonus that could even remotely be related to forward castling is extra resource carrying on villagers. So, we're going to go ahead and slot them into D tier. I wouldn't castle drop as the Aztecs. I think you have better options as them. Next, we're going to talk about Bengalis, and I already know where I'm going to put Bengalis. I'm going to put them in subpar. I think that they could have a good castle drop time, especially with the extra villagers on age up, but really that's about all they're going to get, and it's only barely enough to ink out the that the Aztecs got for the extra resources. So Bengalis going in C tier. Now, the Berbers are a civ that I have a personal affinity for because I play League of Legends, and anyone who plays League of Legends will tell you that move speed is one of the strongest stats in the game. So naturally, villagers moving faster in Dark Age and then even faster in Feudal and the Ages on makes me think that it would be great for, sending vills forward, getting that castle up faster, being able to age up faster with more resources. But I really don't know if I would consider that better than what the Aztecs have, so I am going to put them in the D tier. The Bohemians are a civ that are almost known for their castle drop due to certain strategies that were proliferated by certain players. So when you think of castle drops, you might think of Bohemians. Not because of any of their bonuses, but because of their follow-up in those beautiful Hussite wagons. Tanky siege units that can protect rear units, but you and I both know they're not for protection, they're for war crimes. And just for that legacy alone, we're putting Bohemians in B tier. Next up are the Britons, and I think that they are a civ that better lends themselves to booming. They have faster working shepherds, and their town centers cost less wood starting in the castle age, meaning that they are going to have a little bit quicker uptime, but not really a bonus towards castle dropping, and nothing that really encourages them to do so. They're much more leaning into that early feudal archer play into a boom in castle age, using that little bit of food you eke out early and then get that feudal advantage aggressively into booming with those cheaper town centers. So I'm going to put Britons in D tier. Bulgarians, that is a civ I love to see, with the Krepost, quoting the AOE 2 wiki, a miniature version of the castle which can create the Conic. It not only replaces the castle, giving you a smaller and more plentiful way to castle drop your enemy, it also gives you a immediate follow-up in one of the weirdest unique units, having both an infantry and cavalry form, depending on health. Oh Lord help us all if I ever pick up Bulgarians seriously and learn how to do build orders. That's an immediate A tier. Burgundians are a late game civ, and when I say Burgundians are a late game civ, I mean they're a late castle age civ, but you don't really want to go to imp because then you're kind of behind, but you don't really have the ability to use your early castle age pressure too much, and cavalier's a little too expensive of a tech for you to pick up in castle age, so you want to pick it up, but you don't want to get it right away because you'd rather put that into knights because that's going to be better for you. And just all of this compounds, plus the fact they don't have any direct bonuses for castle dropping, Burgundians are going in the better off laming tier. I do not think you should castle drop with Burgundians. Next are the Burmese, and the Burmese are a weird situation because this one time I saw Harry T win on a TTC map with Burmese doing a castle drop, a ran by mass strat, and that game was insane. But other than that, I'm gonna be honest, the lumber camp techs for free and the infantry unit bonuses, those aren't really going to be enough for me to recommend castle dropping in a ramby. You really have to get a mass of them for them to truly hit their maximum strength. So I'm gonna have to put Burmese in the I wouldn't tier. The Byzantines, I think, are an interesting case where when you look at their bonuses, they're very much a defensive civ. But when you think about it, if you castle drop as the Byzantines, you're never going to get beat in a castle war, straight up, because your buildings have more HP. On the flip side, if you get castle dropped and then you have to defensive castle, you have more HP to work with. So the lack of any economic directly supporting a castle drop makes me not feel like they're super strong, but the fact that their castles have so much HP, I think this is gonna have to go in C with the Bengalis. I don't think it's got anything that makes it especially viable, but I do think that it can be done with success. Next up are the Celts, and the Celts are a civ that I actually raged against on the ladder back in the day, because I would get castle drop, woad, and siege all day, and when I tell you, I still am uncertain how to play against it, but that's probably because I'm usually the one doing the dropping, not getting dropped on, you know what I'm saying? But those lumberjacks, definitely a better bonus than people think, and being able to follow up with that faster firing siege, a couple mangonels under a forward castle with some woads running around killing bills, almost impossible to play against if you're low elo. So definitely Celts are a civ that I think are viable for castle drops. C tier. Next up are the Chinese, and they're kind of a high skill ceiling, high skill floor civ in my opinion. Having more villagers at the start really does completely change how you have to play the game, because you start out with less resources. You get more population space in your town center, making it so that you can do weird things with houses as well. But I would personally say that if you're trying to go for just a general castle droppy strategy and you are thrown on Chinese, I don't think you're going to be able to succeed in the Chinese early game good enough to have a good enough uptime to get a castle drop that is worth it. And so for general and for myself, I'm going to go ahead and put the Chinese in, better off laming with those extra vills and then trying to beat them up on a civ that you're uncomfortable on. The Cumans are a civ that I love dearly because of their 2TC strat, and because I hate aging up on time just to spite our base. But I will say that as a civ, I love them. I love their concept and I love what they do. It's just for how I play the game and for this tier list criteria of castle drop ability, they are definitely going in the F tier. You can't really do castle dropping Cumans because none of your bonuses lend themselves to that, and you're stuck in the feudal age anyways with that second TC. Dravidians are a civ that lend themselves to some interesting strategies with the age up wood, but castle dropping is not one of them in my opinion. Yes, you can use that extra wood to take some off of chopping trees to go mine some more stone, but I don't think it's enough to make it more or less viable than a generic civ, so I'm gonna go ahead and put Dravidians in the D tier. The Ethiopians only really have a bonus in that their outposts don't cost stone, so if you need to build an outpost, you're not going to use that stone that you need for the castle. But other than that, you do get 100 food and gold on the age up, which is good for the age up timing to castle. So honestly, I mean, that is a pretty big bonus. We're going to go ahead and put Ethiopians in the C tier, subpar. It's a bonus that helps, but not enough. Next up are the Franks, one of the strongest castle dropping civs in the game. You have cheaper castles, your farms upgrade for free, and your foragers work faster, which means you got more food early, and you can literally build a cheaper castle. So Franks, going in the A tier. The Georgians also get fortified churches just like the Armenians, which was enough to put them in the A tier. The biggest difference here is that they start with a mule cart and they don't get any bonuses for their mule cart techs like the Armenians do. Their fortified churches do villagers in their radius work faster, and their units and buildings receive less damage when fighting from a higher elevation. So that's a very situational thing, but repairing buildings costs minus 25 resources, making it a fantastic. If you have to sit and repair your castle, you aren't going to really run out of resources, and your mounted units, aka your Manaspa, will regen health over time. I think that makes the Georgians a bit of a... We're going to put them in B tier. I definitely think you could castle drop with the Goths, but I think that you're better off castling at home for defense and then flooding forward with cheap infantry. Their hunters carry more and their hunt lasts longer. Their infantry units have more attack against buildings, meaning you don't really need the siege like you do need for the Celt castle drop. I definitely think you can castle drop, but it's a lot riskier than the Goth game plan of just, you know, sitting at home, building up a little bit, and then flooding the board with your little guys. That being said, I'm going to put them in subpar because I would do it, but I don't really think they have many advantages, if any at all. I definitely think Juras are a fun civ, but I don't think they're a castle drop civ. The forage bushes underneath their TC and the garrisoning of herdable animals are great bonuses that lend themselves to a different kind of playstyle than any other civ in the game. That being said, while it is fun, it is not castle droppable, so we are going to have to put them in the D tier. Next up are the Hindustanis, and I definitely think cheaper vills are a good enough bonus to help with castle dropping, and I do not think that the Ghulam are a bad unit to follow up with a castle drop, especially resisting TC fire with a little bit of arson. You're gonna have a good time, so I think Hindustanis are definitely a viable castle drop civ. The Huns are a civ where I find the concept of castle dropping so funny and yet so counterintuitive to what they're going for that it almost wraps back around to me wanting to say that they're good again. But truthfully, when I look at these bonuses, you can't build houses, but you get max houses. You start with a little less wood. You get max pop, not max houses. And you don't really have a good way to house wall at home, which is a common strategy. You're going to have to hard wall things. You're going to have to like wall with production buildings and things like that. And so having a castle at home is even more important when you've got such a mobile military like the stables working 20% faster for the Huns. I don't think you need to castle forward, but the idea of Huns walking forward on horses and then getting off those horses to build a stone structure to shoot at you from does make me chuckle enough that I think Huns have to go in C tier. The Incan villagers are a legacy only beat out by Spanish villagers. They get to benefit from your blacksmith technologies, meaning they have more armor, more attack. And when you go forward to build that castle, you're not really going to have blacksmith techs, are you? Now, not every castle drop happens at the beginning of Castle Age, and not every castle drop is clean and without needing to get blacksmith techs. So in the case where, you know, you can get some of those buff villagers forward and you have less stone cost on buildings, I do think that that is a combination worthy of the Incas being a B tier viable civ. The Italians are a civ that gets to age up cheaper, which in Age of Empires terms also means aging up faster. Having a 15% cheaper uptime on both feudal and castle is going to greatly aid in a faster castle drop time, as long as you can accurately use the market to get the stone you need to drop that castle. That's going to put the Italians at, I believe, I think it's viable with the cheaper uptime. I don't think that the Japanese economy lends itself well enough to castle dropping. cheaper mills, lumber camps, and mining camps is a save on wood, but you'd probably rather use that to make fishing boats than try and, you know, skimp yourself on wood choppers and try and go up faster for a castle drop. I think you're better off going for a more traditional strategy on the Japanese than going for a castle drop. So for me, that's going to put them in the D tier. The Khmer are civ that don't need to build extra buildings to age up to the next stage. Kind of similar to the Italians, that just means you're going to be aging up faster with less resources put in. The biggest issue is once you get that castle drop down, if you don't kind of win the game as Khmer, you're got ballista elephants, and those are super expensive, and all your other bonuses don't really lend themselves to a castle drop like scenario. So I'm going to say with the age up time, it makes it good, but I'm not thinking it's good enough to make it better than a generic civ. So, no, I think it is viable. I think we're going to go B tier for Khmer. Next up are the Koreans, and the Koreans are a civ that get some special tower techs, but their stone miners work 20% faster, and that is so exciting when you're going for a castle drop. Not to mention their archer armor and tower upgrades are free, meaning you could not even castle drop, but instead you could tower drop in the castle age with some super strong towers. Stone miners working faster, better towers. Villagers having line of sight is just the icing on the cake to be able to scout where and what and who's coming and get defenses up before you're stopped with your castle drop. Koreans going in the A tier. Next up are the Lithuanians, and the big thing that the Lithuanians have going for them are their lattice and their bonus, where garrisoned relics increase the attack of the lattice and the knight by 1. If you're able to rust Castle Age, get yourself some early relics and then castle drop and just start producing lattice with +3, +4 if you can get those many relics, it is incredibly strong. The big kicker is here, can you get up and get those relics fast enough for it to be worth it? That being said, I think the Lithuanians are definitely a viable castle drop civ, B tier. None of the Magyar bonuses lend themselves to castle dropping. They're definitely a civ that has an identity that's very clearly defined in their fast scout rush with strong attack due to the free attack upgrades from the blacksmith for the Magyars. So I'm gonna have to put them in F tier. They not only have bonuses that don't really lend themselves to castle dropping, but they in fact have such a identity, I think you're shooting yourself in the foot to go for a castle drop. Next up are the Malay, and the Malay I'm gonna go ahead and put at the top of A tier. The Malay can age up 66% faster to the next age, meaning they are saving a bundle of time. I think that is what, two villagers worth of time or something like that on feudal age. So you're going to be up incredibly fast, meaning as soon as you get those resources, especially with maybe a little bit of market manipulation, you can be dropping a castle on your opponent's face incredibly quick, and then just karambits, a couple of karambits. They're so cheap, you can harass and get in a very nice place to win the game. Malay, A tier, strong as heck. The Malians are a civ that I enjoy castle dropping with, especially because Gabetto are such an enjoyable unit to use en masse, but I don't think that their bonuses necessarily lend themselves to castle dropping. The gold bonus for mining could help if you need to market up a castle, and the buildings costing less wood will make your age up times a little bit quicker theoretically, but other than that, I think that the Malians are just fun to castle drop with, but don't necessarily have much advantage, so we're going to go ahead and put them in C tier. The Mayans have some fun bonuses in that they start with an extra villager, but minus the cost of a villager, which does give them a slightly tighter start than other civs. The big thing here is that their resources last longer, so in a game where you're going to be needing to eke out every single drop of stone and gold, that is fantastic, but for the situation where we're castle dropping, not really a bonus. We're just going to have the extra vill, which is not enough for me to say they're better than normal. That's going to be a D tier for the Mayans. Between the Mongol hunter work speed and the fact that they have such a good unique unit, I would wager to say the Mongols have a above generic but below preferred castle drop. And as with most super strong civs, you can kind of just play the strong civ while castle dropping, and in my opinion that does put them at the top of C tier. As with the other civs that have had strategies equivalent to or as good as castle dropping, the Persian douche is a strategy where you delete your town center and then rebuild your double HP town center of the Persians right next to your opponent and start shooting them from frame 1 of the game. This is one of my favorite strategies to cast, my favorite strategies to watch, and I've never done it myself. That being said, I do think that the Persian douche is probably less viable, truthfully, than a Persian castle drop. They start the game with more food and more wood, and the fact that they are just such a strong civ with faster working town centers just makes me believe that they are just enough above generic to put them in the C tier, right below the Mongols. They're just that strong of a civ. I'm a big fan of the Poles getting extra gold when they mine stone, but I don't think that that is a good enough bonus for them to be that much better of than a C tier castle drop civ. They get to mine stone, they get a little extra gold for that castle age tech, but I don't think Obu are good enough for you to go straight into. I do think you should play into your knights, cheaper knights, into your winged hussar, things like that. And you can castle drop, but it's definitely not as strong as it seems it would be. That's going to be a C tier for the Poles. The Portuguese are another one of those quintessential castle drop civs. When I think about castle drops, I think about the Portuguese in a similar vein to the Bohemians. They have such a strong siege unit for their unique unit, and the fact that they cost 20 less gold due to their civ bonus and their foragers gaining wood in addition to food means you can have more vills on food, allowing you to age up faster. All technologies excluding age ups are researched 25% faster, which means you're gonna be able to get whatever techs you need as well pretty dang quickly. Overall, a great civ, and I think definitely a B tier castle drop civ. The Romans are another one of those civs that are just so OP on their own, with faster gathering, building, and repairing on their villagers, that I just think it's undeniable that they could have a good castle drop. If you have a generic civ and you would castle drop with a generic civ, the Romans are just going to be baseline 5% better at that. That being said, we're going to go ahead and put them in the B tier. Next up are the Saracens, and the Saracen market bonus is one of the most versatile bonuses in the game, allowing you to trade at a 5% commodity trading fee. Markets also cost 75 wood instead of the normal cost, and that to me is just enough to make it more than viable. We're gonna go ahead and put Saracens in the B tier. Next up are the Slavs, and even though they have faster working farmers, I don't think that's gonna be enough to eke out any advantage in castle dropping. I do think the population on production buildings could be nice for feudal age, but again, not really gonna help too much with the castle dropping. They're gonna go in the D tier. The Spanish are yet another quintessential castle dropping civ. Builders working 30% faster, 20% for wonders is just such a good castle dropping civ bonus. You're going to get that castle up faster, there's going to be less time for your opponent to react, and then you're going to be on Conquistadors, one of the greatest war crimes against AOE 2 players. I am a big fan of the Spanish castle drop, and if you haven't done it and you're below 1500 elo, you should go ahead and go watch a build order and give it a try. It is fun. That is going to be an A tier for the Spanish. All the Tatars really have going for them are the extra food on their herdables and sheep on newly constructed town centers, but that's not really going to be enough to put them ahead of the game, so that's going to be a D tier for the Tatars. When I first started playing Age of Empires 2 on the ladder, my first civ main was the Teutons, and the main reasons were for murder holes being free, and also for having the longest range castles in the game. Now, one of the things that is interesting about that is you can actually get crenellations till Imperial Age, so that doesn't affect your castle drop at all. Murder Holes does kind of, and Cheaper Farms does kind of. I will say, for the nostalgia of it though, we're gonna at least put Teutons in the B tier. Next up are the Turks, and the Turks are a civ that definitely want to be getting to Castle Age as quickly as possible, if not Imperial Age, due to free chemistry. Their faster working gold miners could make it so that you could get a castle drop off, especially if you're going to use the market to try and use a little bit of that buying and selling to get up faster or to get the resources for a castle. But other than that, I don't think that any of their other bonuses lend themselves to a castle drop, though on Arena that is kind of a go-to strategy. I think is fast imp or even fast castle into imp with the Turks with a castle drop or with those long range bombards. Either way, we're gonna go ahead and put them in C tier. The Vietnamese are next, and they reveal your opponent's town center at the start of the game, which in and of itself does put it above generic civs for castle dropping. But because of the war crimes that Maxi has committed recently, hitting 2k elo on the ladder, I am obligated to put it in better off flaming because you're just better off flaming. Next up are the Vikings, and I think with free wheelbarrow and handcart, that's definitely going to give them a strong enough economy to get a above generic civ castle drop, and that's going to very firmly put them at the bottom of C tier. There you have it, everybody. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you want to see more from me, either casting or tier lists or any kind of videos from me, go ahead and subscribe. And if you enjoy non-scripted, generic, very stumbly through my words content, go ahead and let me know in the comments what you liked and didn't like about my opinions in this video. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Bye! Feudal castle, or feudal archer, feudal tower rush into castle drop. But I digress. I'm testing the mic right now to see how sensitive it is.